Hello and welcome. Today let's take a look at Operation Cherry Blossom. And long story short, I would recommend everyone play this mode because it gives you a lot of XP, almost as much as Narai. Not quite as much, but almost, and because it's an operation, it's fairly easy. However, if you play it with a team, you will share all of the XP with everyone. So anyways, this is a night battle mode. Your first objective is to defend these Liberty ships that are sailing away. And 4 destroyers spawn in that area. If you spawn on the left side of your team, you can use radar to spot these DDs about 15 to 20 seconds into the match. If you spawn on the right side, somebody usually radars them before anyway. These destroyers don't have torpedoes reloaded at the start, obviously, which means that, you don't have much risk of being torpedoed. However, if these DDs survive for a long time, which in this case it does seem to be the case, they can torpedo because eventually their torpedoes do reload. And I think in this case we're actually getting torpedoed by at least one of them, although it might not happen. Even though it's night battle, even though it's supposed to be a night battle mode, look at this. It just looks like a cyclone. It doesn't look all that dark. Like, how is this nighttime? And there you can see one of the illumination shells, but it doesn't matter because it's so bright. I mean, this isn't night mode. You like, seriously, what is this? And I know why this is the case. The next objective is the Myokos ahead. Basically, we have to defend the marine regiments. And there will be a bunch of destroyers and 2 Myokos. The first Myoko is going to be broadside. They are not moving until they get hit once. So you might be able to get some citadels in. However, as a Cleveland, I don't think my AP penetration is going to be quite enough. So, it's not going to be quite the same. However, if I were a Baltimore or the French one, then it would be possible. And usually if you're a French cruiser, you can actually speed boost right at the start of the match and go in a straight line, and you'll be able to usually get 2 salvos into this Myoko before anybody else does, which means you get a whole bunch of damage. Now, 2 Aobas spawn on the left side, but you can pretty much ignore them because they are not going to be shelling the marine regiments. Of course, if you want more XP, you want to sink them, which is why I'm going to do that. The second Myoko is angled, which means that you want to hit it once so that it starts moving, because it'll circle around, and while doing so, she will open up her broadside to your team, which means that, she will be able to be sunk. The destroyers are not as important as the cruisers, however, they are still important. They can kill one of the regiments. If they kill one of them, you lose a star. If they kill both of them, then you lose the operation. Okay, back to whining about night mode. So look, this isn't very dark, right? And so you know that I played this game called Dark and Light. It's kind of like Ark. And what I really loved about that game was the fact that nighttime was actually dark. However, people complained about it despite the fact that the game had all kinds of things in the game that would let you illuminate things like a light fairy and dark vision spells and stuff like that. People still complained, and so the developers changed it. And I'm guessing that something similar is the case here. That is, it's gameplay reasons why nighttime isn't very dark. And that's really sad. I think it would have been much cooler if nighttime was actually so dark that you couldn't really play properly without illumination, and then allowed players to fire these illumination shells or star shells or whatever you call them. I don't know, I'm sorry. That would have been much cooler in my opinion. However, that's not what we got, which is kind of sad. But yeah, basically the fact that it's nighttime doesn't matter at all. And it's the same for these illumination shells. You can sail into them. It'll say, oh, you're illuminated. However, it doesn't make any difference, because they'll just shoot you normally anyway. So yeah, this just feels, I mean, it's literally raining, so it just feels like Cyclone. It might actually just be Cyclone with slightly different vision mechanics. Anyways, you sink these destroyers here, then 2 carriers up here, Bunker Hill and Saratoga, and some other stuff happens. Basically, you sink the DDs here, and then, you know, you go on with the match. Actually, after you do this, there are... Okay, so the Marine regiments are safe now, so we're moving on to the next stage, which is that the carriers will appear. We still want to sink all these destroyers because the carriers will launch their strikes, and if the destroyers are still alive, they might target the destroyers instead. And as you can see on the minimap, an Essex and the Lexington, that is Bunker Hill and Saratoga, appeared. Bunker Hill has a heal aura, so if you've taken a lot of damage at this point, you can go and heal next to her. So we'll sink the Sakizuki. After that, it's 2 Shiratsus that spawn on the to the island that's to my left, ahead left. The one you can see right now. Yep, where the ping is on the minimap. I radared a bit too early, unfortunately, but you know, it is what it is. Now you engage the Shiratsus. Again, you want to engage them because the carriers will launch their strikes on them otherwise, and there's just no reason not to. And if they stay alive for a long time, they'll also launch torpedoes at you, which isn't good, okay? Because at this point, we're going to attack the northwestern corner of the map, and there will be 2 aerodromes. We have to sink a bunch of ships. What usually happens there is that you try to sink as many ships as you can until they stop spawning, and then you destroy the aerodromes. But the objective is to sink an Otago and then an aerodrome. Right now there are actually 3 Zaos over there in the northwestern side of the map, and if you don't engage them, they will simply leave the map. They're not really involved in the operation. However, you can fight them. If you engage them early enough, they will actually not try to sail out of the map, but turn towards you and engage you directly. However, I wouldn't recommend doing that unless you have, you know, like at least 4 people with you that you are in a division with, because those Zaos are, you know, tier 10 ships, and they actually play somewhat decently. By the way, now that this is going on, the aerodromes will be sending in torpedo bombers, and the first ship that gets spotted is the one that's going to be targeted. And I don't know who that was in this case, so I'm gonna start turning in while using my defensive fire, because I just want to get as many plane kills, because, you know, all of the things you do in this match increase your XP, and if you have a lot of XP, and if you get a lot of plane kills, you'll get a higher XP multiplier. You can see the Zaos right now. If you were to engage them right now, they might shoot back, however, they will simply leave the map. You would have to engage them a lot earlier than this. Right now, so we'll be fighting the Shiratsus, Myokos, and that Atago. The Atago is the so-called flagship that we have to sink, and, you know, we can... Well, actually, I don't think we have to sink her. I think it's a secondary task. Same as killing a bunch of planes and saving a bunch of ships. It's actually really easy to die in this mode, because if you get too close, like right now, we're being fairly... we aren't pushing really hard at this point. Usually you'll notice that people will be a lot closer to those Myokos and Atagos, you know, because they want to fire at them, and it's really hard to hit them from this far away. However, because I'm playing with random people, I didn't want to take that risk, because they will focus fire you, and they will do a lot of damage. And they can very easily sink you. Like, if you start reacting to them, when you're at half HP, you will probably die. I mean, look, I took 2 torpedoes, and if I were closer, those Myokos and Shiratsus would absolutely torpedo me. And then I would have to contend with that on top of the planes. Right now I'm in the healing aura of Bunker Hill. It's like 300 HP per tick, I think. Yep. Which means that you can heal up quite decently. Pretty much go from 0 to full, and still fight all that time. It's quite nice. If you actually engage the Zaos, from what I've noticed, Bunker Hill and Saratoga turn around and sail further away. So that's also something you need to keep in mind. If you were something like a Baltimore or a Charles Martel, it's possible to... you can use your AP more in this situation and try to get lots of damage and citadels off of the Myokos. However, I'm gonna just pick whatever is closest to me because Cleveland shells sometimes take quite a while to get there. I'm going to use Hydro because there will definitely be torpedoes coming in, and I'm also going to try to take out as many planes as possible. Well, you know, not getting hit all that many times. You know, there's a lot of stuff going on in this mode. Oh yeah, by the way, if you didn't notice, during the mode, you have a dawn breaking. And as you can see, it's actually bright in the match right now, instead of being somewhat dark like it was at the start. But yeah, basically at this point, you know, we've all pretty much won this match. There isn't anything else that's going to happen at this point. And it's all about just farming as many ship kills and damage as you can before destroying the aerodromes. It's actually, if the butt destroyers that came with your team, if the butt destroyers actually are left alive and don't get sunk here, they will start attacking the aerodromes a lot earlier than you would like to. So I would recommend not trying to keep them alive, since they don't really help you all that much. Okay, can I dodge this torpedo? I don't remember. Oh, I can. Excellent. Okay, that was all planned, okay? All calculated. Now, it would be nicer if I were actually closer to the enemy team and try to get more damage off of them, because, you know, if you're closer, it's easier to hit them for lots and lots of damage. However, in this case, you know, I'm not... If I hadn't taken some of those torps, would have been better, because I would have been pushing up at that point, but it is what it is. If you play this mode a bit, you'll get a feeling for when you should push and when you shouldn't. I like this mode because you get a lot of XP from it. You'll see at the end. Again though, I really wish that nighttime was actually dark. Oh yeah, and if you want the most amount of XP, I would recommend playing this like with one other person in a division or solo. Because if you have competent teammates, then they also get a lot of XP, which means that you'll get less XP, since they will kill all the ships before you get to kill them. Also, the carriers will drop on ships too, and they will eventually end up dealing damage. I'm not sure what the best strategy is for maximizing your XP. Should you go after destroyers or cruisers or what? I'm not sure. Depends on the ship, of course, but I'm not sure like what you should do as a Cleveland. But this mode gives a ton of XP because, well, it's an operation, right? Which means that you almost never lose, and you'll almost ever make a similar amount. You'll almost always make a similar amount of XP, you know. I think I get like 2200 to 2600 almost every time I play this solo. In a division, of course, you know, you can get like 1800, or if you die, you obviously get less, but usually that doesn't happen. Which means that this mode will give you a ton of XP and is really good at using flags. I've made like 100,000 XP on the Cleveland just in this mode. And right now, since we have the 200% first wins of the day, I would recommend doing it in all of your tier 8 cruisers that you can. You can only take allied tier 8 cruisers into this mode, so no Japanese cruisers. However, Soviet cruisers are okay. I wonder if they will actually remove this mode or make it unavailable, kind of like Narai, because it gives too much XP or something. I mean, They did it with Narai, so why not this mode, right? Also, speaking of the aerodromes, I don't actually know where you're supposed to shoot them. I've noticed sometimes when I fire at it, I get a ton of damage, sometimes I get nothing at all. And I'm really unsure what you're supposed to do about, or where you're supposed to shoot them. Anyways, this is pretty much coming to a close here. There might be some ships that still spawn, but they'll spawn like one ship at a time at best. Sometimes they don't seem to spawn at all, which means that basically destroying the aerodromes is the best course of action. As you can see, that salvo did no damage at all, despite the fact that it was basically on some of the runway buildings. And this salvo did 24,000. I don't really know where you're supposed to aim against them. And there's 5 stars in this operation. I think this should have been a lot of XP. By the way, I'm spec'd for anti-air to get as many plane kills as possible, since plane kills give you an XP multiplier. And since I'm not playing this ship in many PvP modes, it's okay like this. I would say that this is a slightly an above average match for this mode. Although, might be slightly more than slightly above average. And I got almost 2500 base XP. And I used all the credits I used all the XP flags, so you'll see this in a moment. Check this out. 24,571 XP, 18,000 free XP, and 57,000 Captain XP. So yeah, this is a mode that can give you a ton of XP, and it's probably the most efficient use of your XP flags. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I would like to thank the very patient Patreons. Thank you very much, and I hope I'll see you guys next time.